A New Orleans judge says she was blindsided by a bill that eliminates her judgeship.
As Sabrina Wilson reports, Governor Landry wouldn't answer questions on the issue today.
The legislature sent Governor Landry a bill eliminating 3 New Orleans criminal court judgeships, but Landry avoided questions on the topic, even though he called for court reform in New Orleans.
Today is about teachers. I'm not answering any questions unless it involves teachers.
On Monday, the final day of the legislative session, the House took up a compromise conference committee report on SB 217 that eliminates 3 divisions of the court. Among the divisions on the chopping block, Division E, which Judge Rhonda Goode-Douglas presides over. She's a former prosecutor elected in 2020. That caught members of the New Orleans delegation off guard.
He is Judge Douglas.
Okay.
Who there's not been any complaints on how she's run her docket.
Representative Jerome Zarang handled the bill in the House.
It's based on case numbers and filings is what the decisions were based on.
Some of us are wondering a little how those 3 particular judges were chosen, in particular Judge Rhonda Goode-Douglas, who by all accounts has a stellar reputation.
After the House's vote, which was final passage of the bill, Landry told NOLA.com they're taking the best judge off the bench. Judge Douglas released a statement saying, in part, "I have been deeply blindsided by the addition of Section E to Senate Bill 217, which eliminates the judicial seat to which I was elected by the citizens of Orleans Parish. The enactment of this legislation represents more than the reduction of a judgeship. It overrides the express will of the voters who entrusted me with the responsibility of serving our community." I asked Dillard University political analyst Dr. Robert Collins if the governor is now in a political quagmire.
The governor has said he has a problem with this because he considers her basically the best judge on the court in terms of efficiency.
The media pressed Landry on whether he will sign or veto the bill.
Okay, listen. All I'm going to tell you is I'm signing this executive order right now. Okay, and it's about teachers.
And so now the governor finds himself in a quagmire. If he disagrees with removing Judge Goode-Douglas from that court, the governor's only recourse is to simply veto the bill.
And now people inside the courthouse and outside the courthouse are wondering what will happen next.
For the prosecutors that are assigned to those sections, to the public defenders that are assigned to those sections, and to the citizens.
Judge Douglas says she has no intention of retiring and plans on seeking re-election this fall. The court's judicial administrator, Rob Kasich, says the change could possibly paralyze the local justice system and put at risk specialty courts like drug, reentry, and mental health courts.